Feature Friday.
The freshest.
And I like to ask, brother, is
Yeah.
what what are your kind of music influences? What, when you were growing up, especially starting so young, maybe what were you exposed to and listening to that you feel perhaps have shaped you into the person that
Yeah.
artists perhaps that have shaped into the artist you are right now?
Yeah. It was MJ for me growing
Michael
up.
Jackson, right?
Yeah, because just everything about it, from the music to his performances, the concerts, the big iconic concerts, the whole the iconic fashion, the outfits, all of that. I was a huge fan, and so um, I think that's something that's a big part of my musicality and just my expression, I guess, as an artist. And I think that somehow still reflects in my shows and in what I do. He's just in general, he's just had such a huge impact in culture and music. And I was one of those kids that really looked up to MJ. And yeah, unfortunately I never got to saw him live. I never got to meet him, but yeah, he's number one on my list for sure.
You really notice how like influential that man was when you look at like, I mean, in South America where we're from in Venezuela, he was just as influential as he was in the Philippines, and just as influential in the Philippines as he was in America, and in America just as influential as he was in Japan. And it's like he's like a really core example of like a worldwide icon.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable what that man was able to achieve through his music,
Yeah.
you know?
And and when you really think about it, this was during a time when virality online or the internet wasn't a thing.
Didn't exist.
Absolutely.
What you had to do to be that worldwide and be so recognizable had to be something so huge and
Absolutely.
and culture changing. And so I don't think that could be replicated, and that only happens like once in to
In
a
a
few people in one generation.
Yeah, I
That's
feel
a great. I totally agree with you. I find that the fact that the world used to tune in at a specific time to watch the premiering of a music video.
Yeah.
It was such a fascinating idea today, but
given the difficulties of technology at the time, yeah.
absolutely, the fact that you had like 10 people in one room watching the same music video at the same time
Yeah.
from different parts of the planet, that's absolutely nuts to me.
Something tells me that it might be because the artists from those days are not as visible, or they're much more scarce than the artists that we have today. Like the artists that we have today, you see them everywhere. There's like an overload of the artists, right? You see them on their phones, you watch TV, it's online, watch them at whatever time.
Mhm.
And so you kind of get used to that, as opposed to before when you really had to go to the show to see
So
MJ
true.
perform live. So wouldn't you think that's because it's a different kind of excitement, and there's this different uh you know passion for loving these artists so much because they're so hard to reach and you never really see them, I guess.
Well, I get
That is a brilliant point. I hadn't actually thought about
because
that.
I guess you would be right, Sam, because sort of scarcity does
Create
create
rarity.
create rarity, and then that rarity turns into heart-throbbing passion and support,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah, you're correct. I mean,
MJ
I had never
fans,
really thought about it.
there are videos of MJ fans just crying and passing out watching him,
Yeah.
because they know that's probably the only time they get to see him in their whole life.
life, yeah.
We see whoever we want at any given time, and it's like them doing normal stuff like cooking or like sitting on the ground playing checkers or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yes,
true.
Sam. I've seen Chris Brown play checkers on the floor.
I don't know why I chose checkers, but I don't even play that.
Okay, domino, it's fine.
No, but I think you're right, mate. Like it's very bizarre the effect of
Social media.
of that we sometimes don't even think of, and unless you would have brought it up, it would have never come to my head.
Me neither. I
And-
hadn't even thought about
And
it.
also, then, if you look at the music industry and also people are overstimulated in music, and auditory experiences are no longer as impactful as perhaps they were in the 80s, 70s, 60s, and 50s, because
wasn't as accessible.
Yeah, because it wasn't accessible,
Yeah, and so I guess there's good and bad with that. I think in a way it's made a lot of these artists more human. Like you see them as, normal people doing normal stuff in their normal homes. And that's nice. It's humanizing.
Well, look
Uh,
at the conversation we're having right now, Sam. I'm sure many people that have posters of you in their house, and
you
absolutely
notice I have no posters anything at all. And well, until yeah.
No, but I'm sure people that absolutely adore
Look
you,
up to
and
you,
and,
yeah.
and we look up to people like you, and the people that we've had the awesome privilege to speak to, and it wouldn't be possible due to kind of how the industry is operating right now and technology and stuff like that. So definitely there's some positives, but I like your point, which I guess would be kind of like a negative at the moment, but it's a very interesting observation that I hadn't seen before.
Well, I think it comes from, it's that idea of a constantly creating something different, making something out of the blue. I find that because we are now so constantly bombarded by content and music videos and ideas, and there's this whole thought that nothing's ever original because it came from somewhere else, and you're constantly recycling ideas, and the industry is all about feeding off of each other and making something that perhaps has already been made before, but giving it your own stamp. And it's true, it's kind of like constantly overloaded. But I also find that that's also creating a brand new generation of artists that are so creative, and they're not afraid of push boundaries. I mean, look at what you did and moves created in the track. It didn't need to change, but because you guys have been constantly stimulated by different influences, you come up with these brilliant ideas.
And also keeping the audience now, like the audience attention span, it's a bit harder, keeping them entertained. It's way harder just through audio. It's way harder than before. So you do have to take way more risk,
Yeah, that's true. I 100% agree. Like with any tool, there's good and bad that comes with it.
Really?
And the internet technology is a really powerful tool to do anything. And so it comes with a lot of good, also comes with a lot of bad. But we know how to use it. We get to create really cool stuff and get to connect with other people that you otherwise wouldn't be able to connect with. And so